Hello, everybody. All right. Well, as last week's main boxing fight was canceled, of course. So, but now we finally have something to look forward to this next upcoming weekend, the first upcoming weekend, and the main fight is, of course, which I will be talking about, is Deontay Wilder versus Robert Helenius, the Nordic Nightmare. And but before we get to that, I want to take a little look about some of the other fights. Of course, Liam Paro is fighting also on Saturday for the so-called WBO Globals. Super lightweight or light welterweight title. And he's fighting Brock Jarvis. Both guys are undefeated. And Leon Paro is 22-0 with 13 KOs, while Brock Jarvis is 20-0 with 18 KOs. So this Brock Jarvis is the puncher here, obviously, and but he hasn't yet faced anybody of note, and he's still young at 24, but he's also slightly the taller man. Yeah, well, it's only by half an inch, I think. Yeah. and while Paro actually has a 2.5 inch reach advantage, so he will be boxing on the outside. One must presume this fight. Well, yeah, of course, this is typically how these fights go. Is that the boxer uh, just simply, usually schools the puncher and, you know, wins by a decision. So that's pretty much, I think, what will happen here. Unless, of course, Brock Jarvis should find a way to connect and with a big punch and score a knockout. So that's all I had to say about that. No point in talking anymore. Pretty clear, that Paro is the favorite to win points. Because he doesn't have that many knockouts, and except if he should get, if he should inflict a cut or something, and he can score a TKO victory, of course. Yeah, doesn't seem there are many other. Of course, we got that card, that all female card should have happened in September. Yeah, which I already have talked about, so of course, I think the same now. I feel that Meyer and Shields are the favorites to win because they are accidentally on the same team they were in the Olympics, but it doesn't have much to do, anything to do really with one thing with the other. It's just simply that I think they are. You know, even though Shields lost, I believe in the amateurs to Savannah Marshall, and Savannah has the height advantage, of course, and she is the much bigger puncher. But the problem is that she hasn't really beaten, anyone of note that was prime. So I mean, anybody that was really, really, top notch. So we don't know if she can really, do anything against Shields. So it's the safest bet is you know, to favor Clarissa Shields to win on points. And when it comes to Michaela Mayer and Alicia Baumgartner, that fight is a little bit more open. That I mean, uh, of course, an upset can happen if you count it as an upset that Baumgartner wins against Mayer. Well, I guess I would. Because Baumgartner does have one loss already, and I mean, she's also hasn't fought that many top-notch fighters, and yeah. While Michaela has actually beaten, I believe, three or four of the women that will be fighting on the undercard: Eva Brudnitska, Erica Annabella Farias, Maiva Amadouche, and Jennifer Hahn. She's beaten all of them, actually. So yeah, I favor Michaela to just outbox. She's also taller, and yeah, I think she has a bigger reach, probably. Yeah. So Alicia is the bigger, harder puncher, and she's really strong and all that. But it doesn't really help much if you don't have enough, boxing IQ, like Michaela does, And she's a strong girl. She can take a punch, obviously. So there will be a lot of excitement, and of course, I think Savannah will probably test Shields, Clarissa's chin at least a couple of times in that fight. But I think Clarissa is also pretty tough, and yeah, she can withstand it. Well, she'll be just looking to avenge that loss, and she's just a very determined girl and has really good boxing skills and all that. All right, so yeah, my predictions stay the same, about the same, yeah. All right, then we go. Also, we have Caleb Plant, that's right, versus Anthony Dirrell. Well, this fight, I think Anthony Dirrell by now is past his prime, and he's since been stopped against David Benavidez. Yeah, since then he's had only two fights, and that was in 2019 September, the Benavidez fight. He drew against Kyrone Davis, who is who is he, right? He has been stopped since then by Benavidez. Also, he drew against that guy, or against guess he's some kind of slick guy. And he stopped Marcos Hernandez, a really unknown fighter who doesn't have much of a record either. So I think this will just be too much for him, and Plant will be looking to bounce back after a loss to Canelo. And he's simply the slightly younger and fresher fighter. Well, not slightly, he's actually 7 years younger. Wow. The obligatory sneeze. Yeah, but I don't know if Plant will be able to stop Durrell. Maybe not, but it will be. I just think Plant will win because he simply got too many advantages over Durrell. Even though he's only slightly shorter by an inch. That's the only advantage Durrell has now. I mean, both are good boxers technically and all that, but Plant is, as I said, has much less mileage on him, and even though he was stopped late against Canelo, I don't think that did so much damage to him, but we will see anyway, of course. And yeah, Durrell, even though he only has two losses, the last loss was pretty, bad. He got hit a lot and knocked out late in the fight and all that. And as I said, after that, he hasn't really been that impressive in his two next fights. Well, in his very next. So I think Plant will win this fight. Well, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's possible he will stop Durrell, but I think probably it will go the distance. Yeah. So Caleb Plant, I think, will win on points. But there is also a chance that he may, may stop Dirrell kind of sometime after the eighth round, probably. Yeah, there is a chance, pretty good chance. Yeah. I'll see also Frank Sanchez is fighting against Carlos Negro. Alright. Alright, now to the main fight. Deontay Wilder versus Robert Helenius. Well, if you look at Helenius first, the guy is already, how old is he? He's like, I believe he's like 39 or something, 30, 40 maybe. Yeah, he's actually 38, alright. So he's not, really ancient yet, even though he has, been around for a while, but he hasn't had so many fights, 34, actually. For someone who turned pro in 2008, that's not a lot, really. Many guys who have been pros for 14 years have like 50 fights or so, 45, 50. That's pretty common in the West anyway. So those sorry, not losses, but wins against Kownacki were really impressive. Yeah. Well, when he was knocked out by Gerald Washington, I thought that's it. Now he's simply done. But yeah, it was just one of those things that happened. He was actually, doing well before that in the fight. Just got caught, by a guy who is almost, well, about as big as he is, as tall. So yeah, that happens. Deontay Wilder. Well, I can say one more thing about Helenius is well, he is kind of stiff and awkward, not the best mover, but he's still quite accurate with his punches. That's one of the reasons why he has been, able to defeat guys like Kownacki, and stop him twice actually. Because he's a very effective puncher. Yeah, and he has the power. He has, of course, he's a very big guy and hits hard enough. And Wilder now, of course, having his first fight after the two losses, devastating losses to Tyson Fury. Yeah, in the last fight, he was actually knocked out. Really like knocked the fuck out. And the first and the one before that, he was just beaten down, until the fight was stopped. But in the last one, he was just knocked out. So that was, and in the 11th round, which can be really bad for a fighter. So we don't know really where he is now, and that was also a year ago. So because of that, I think Helenius does have a chance, to beat him. But of course, the footage we've seen of Wilder after that, and show that he was, kind of returning to seem like he was returning to form, doing well in sparring, training sessions, and all that. Just he seemed rather, hungry and eager to get back to it, and I think now, of course, it was a big mistake to take on Fury the third time actually. Even though he did better than in the second fight, but still, it's Fury. He's a beast. He just could not beat him just because he doesn't have what it takes. He doesn't have the skills, the mindset, the IQ. Doesn't have it, right? Doesn't have a good enough chin, I'd say either. Does have a decent chin, but because he was, has been hurt like against Ortiz in the first fight, but he can get knocked out. We have seen that. And Fury is not the hardest puncher out there, definitely. Uh, so Wilder, if he loses this fight, especially by a knockout, which may well happen. As I said, Helenius is a pretty, dangerous puncher. pretty effective and accurate and all that hard. So I think that would be pretty much it for him, And now at this age, he's like 37, I believe, and having suffered two devastating knockout losses already, that will prove to be the end of him. But of course, it can also happen the other way around. He can knock out Helenius, as we know. Helenius has been knocked out once before, and of course, by a guy that doesn't hit as hard as Wilder. So all it takes is one big right hand by Wilder, as we know, usually, and that's it for Helenius because he's not like Fury. He doesn't get up after being hit by the hardest punch in the world. So, yeah. I mean, of course, Fury is not human, really, completely. And Helenius is. But I think, yeah, this will be a pretty exciting fight. Of course, because both guys are so big, there will be a lot of, clinching and holding and stuff like that. But I think for Helenius, is just since he knows he's at the end of his career, this will be a final great statement for him if he wins this fight. But also, if he only goes the distance, that will be a pretty good achievement as well. So I don't know if he will really go for a knockout, but I think, yeah, maybe so because he knows it's in America. He's a foreigner. He will not be preferred by the judges, of course. So we've seen what happened to Fury in the first Wilder fight. That the decision was just pure BS, of course, and yeah. So I don't know. Really, my prediction is, I think anything can happen. So this is pretty hard to predict. This fight. Yeah, I don't like doing these predictions. But I really think Helenius is out to really, once again shock the world. So I think there's like a slightly bigger chance that he wins this fight than that Wilder actually does because, yeah, Wilder is the quicker, younger, slightly, I mean, more athletic guy, than Helenius. So when you think about it, of course, that's also an important factor. So in him, kind of, landing the first big shot, and that's gonna be really decisive. Who lands that first big cracker? So yeah, I think this is a pretty much a 50-50 fight. Yeah. So I don't know really. I don't I'm really divided here. I'm sorry, I must say. But I kind of have a feeling that Helens will again probably surprise. Yeah, probably. He's also actually improved lately. Probably got on a new trainer or something. So, and Wilder is not hard to hit, as we know. So, unless, all right, this is my prediction. Unless Wilder takes Helenius out in the first 6 rounds, he will lose. All right, that's my prediction. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.